Good morning, everyone. I'm Snell Williams.
Now, I'm Mofe Ajuya. We're both co-presidents of the Business in Africa Club, and we would like to welcome you here to the Business in Africa Conference. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, we have a great program for you today featuring keynote speeches, TED Talks, and panel discussions that will cover virtually every major industry on the continent. And our hope today is for you to gain new insights and be inspired to make an impact on the continent.
Now, just before we begin, there are a couple of things I'd like to highlight and schedule changes. So we've moved the closing keynote on what you see as on the actual booklet. So you should have received a pamphlet or a single piece of paper with the updated schedule. So the second keynote will take place at 2:15 to 3:15, and we've moved the two TED-style talks downwards to accommodate our keynote arrangements. So please bear with us and and have a fun and filled day today as we begin. So we'll now like to introduce our Associate Dean of Admissions, Shari Hubert, to give us the welcome remarks. Thank you, Shari.
Thank you, Mofe. Thank you, Sneh. Wonderful. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 6th Annual Duke Business in Africa Conference. I'm so excited. Thank you so much to the Business in Africa Club for inviting me to provide welcoming remarks. As they mentioned, I'm the Associate Dean of Admissions. And I'm especially pleased because I actually have had a career over the past almost 30 years across the private, the public, nonprofit, and higher education spaces. Prior to coming to Fuqua, I was the head of admissions for the MBA program at Georgetown's McDonough School of Business. I was the director of volunteer recruitment at the U.S. Peace Corps, where I had the pleasure of meeting actually our keynote speaker. Spent many years in the corporate sector before that, and prior to attending business school was in the pharmaceutical industry. And I attended business school at Harvard Business School back in the early 2000s. And I was kind of thinking back, in the early 2000s, it was at the very beginning of HBS's Africa Business Conference, and I remember those days. And so it's really great to see over the past 21 years how that conference has grown. At Georgetown, they have the really wonderful opportunity of hosting a conference with the School of Foreign Service as well over the past years, and that's grown. So it's really nice to be here at Duke and being a part of the Business in Africa Conference here and seeing how over the past 6 years, the club has really raised the bar. I think it's also a testament to the growing interest of our young professionals and what's happening on the continent, and then going back, driving growth, and an opportunity in a market that really, I think, everyone sees as having the greatest of opportunity. I'd also like to thank our panel speakers as well as our keynote speakers. We have some of them travel great distances, and some of them will continue to travel. Actually, to Iceland is where CD's heading after this, so really appreciate him being a part of this. To note, CD Glenn is the president and CEO of U.S. African Development Foundation. We also have Cyril Odu, who's the CEO of African Capital Alliances and the chairman of the Union Bank of Nigeria. I'd also like to thank, of course, our organizers of the event, the co-presidents of the club, Sneh Williams and Mofe Ajuya, and supporting Business in Africa team members, our students from the classes of 2019 and 2020, without whom this event would not be made possible. And then finally, I'd like to thank our facility staff, our caterers at Bon Appetit, and all of the other support staff, our videographer and our AV folks, and everyone who's really made this opportunity and this day possible. The theme for this year's conference is Disruptive Opportunities in Emerging Markets, Africa as a Case Study. We hope to facilitate a conversation highlighting industries taking advantage of a lack of legacy infrastructure or legal framework to provide creative solutions that address the continent's growing needs, thus displacing the incumbents and reestablishing a new template for doing business around the world. Emerging markets have largely been seen as double-digit growth markets that have hit an inflection point in development and made a push towards economic growth and prosperity. From a business perspective, the question is what has made this possible and what disruptive opportunities are being exploited. At this year's conference, we examine Africa as a case study and delve into the number of sectors and functions to understand how disruption is taking place. In particular, our panels will address the energy sector, healthcare, infrastructure, entrepreneurship, education, venture capital, social impact, as well as the profound role of women in this space around leadership. As we explore how can we harness disruption for further growth and true prosperity under the theme, again, disruptive opportunities in emerging markets, Africa as a case study. There's a lot to cover in today, and they'll be interactive and dynamic in panels and conversations. They'll include TED-style talks led by Mocha Lantam, the CEO of Sagittarius and Microclinic Technologies out of Kenya, Abisoye Ajayi Akinfalaran, founder of Pearls Africa Foundation and 2018 CNN Heroes honoree, Ifosa Ojomo, who is the co-author of The Prosperity Paradox, How Innovation Can Lift Nations. And he also serves as the Global Prosperity Lead for the Clayton Christensen Institute. We also have panel sessions from great experts around the world who will speak about how disruption is taking place in their particular sectors. And then we'll also have some design thinking workshops, which we can encourage you to register for, as there are limited spaces. And the workshops will be driven by Tom Allen. He's an adjunct professor here at Fuqua, but as well as the Sanford School of Public Policy. And also is the former Chief Veteran Experience Officer at the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs under the Obama administration. So what we hope is, for participants, we hope you gain a greater appreciation for the thought leadership that exists around driving growth on the continent through the lens of those disrupting historical paradigms. For speakers, our hope is that you'll find shared experience, make connections, and hear perspectives that might push your own thinking and help further your organizational goals and outcomes. And then from an admissions perspective, we hope this conference continues to serve as a great demonstration of Fuqua's ability to create the conversation and convene the caliber of students, faculty, industry leaders, panelists, to discuss how best to continue to drive growth and opportunity on the continent. We plan to continue our recruitment efforts and encourage more students, hopefully, to look at Fuqua for their graduate business needs. Currently, we have close to 60 students across all of our degree programs from 11 countries on the continent, as well as a good cross-section of the African diaspora in terms of our dual citizens. Our admissions staff have made visits to the continent 4 of the last 5 years, led by Natasha Gore here, who is our Associate Director in Admissions. And we'll continue to host events. In particular, we went to Nairobi, Accra, Lagos, and Johannesburg. We've led standalone Duke events as well as traveled with other groups. Our students have hosted 6 to 8 events per year on the continent during summer, spring, and winter breaks. And this past year, we added Uganda to the mix. And for me, that was a special add because my father just finished his 2.5-year stint as a Peace Corps volunteer in Uganda at the age of 67. Our next staff-led events will be this fall, and we'll continue to scout out new locations. And of course, all of our Business in Africa students continue to hold multiple webinars to increase the visibility and the yield of people coming to Fuqua.